Welcome to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast, a place to discuss pain, passion, and pursuits.
Let's get it. I want to feel alive.
Breathe.
Make some moves.
Protect the throne. This is Sexy Freedom Media Podcast.
Welcome to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast. It's your host, Helen Edwards, and
January Liddell. Aloha.
Today we have our special guest, Schatz, who is a very good friend of mine. We met on Facebook. She is phenomenal. I've watched her journey through the last few years, and I can't wait to dive into this episode with you. So, Cami, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Well, first off, thank you guys so much for having me here. I'm really excited to be here. I am no different than anybody else, really. I'm just somebody who said, you know what, that's not the life I want, and I'm going to go get a different life, and I'm going to create it as I go. So I own a coaching practice. I'm a mom. I'm a cat mom. I love to read books. You know, I just love to help other people achieve their goals, as well as my own.
I love that you're a coach because I believe in mentors. I believe that we all need somebody above us who's smarter, who has more experience than us to guide us and coach us. Can you tell us a little bit more about your coaching business and what it's called?
Yeah, absolutely. So my business is called Efficiency Powerhouse Solutions. A lot of people know it as EPS coaching because they can't spell the rest of it. So we go with EPS. So I work specifically with women business owners, typically within their first 10 years of starting that business, formulating the idea all the way up to launching. I've worked up with $30 million companies just throughout my 20-year career doing this. So I kind of got into this just accidentally, honestly. I was going to be an art therapist. So this just shifted gears.
Wow, I love the name of it. Can you repeat it one more time?
Yeah, Efficiency Powerhouse Solutions.
Ooh, all three words are bomb. Okay, they're like explosive. I love it. Who are your ideal clients?
My ideal clients are people who have an idea and they want to get it launched. They want somebody to help them market it. They want somebody to put some structure behind it, hold them accountable. They're looking for the next steps because they've been so overwhelmed and confused and they're holding themselves back and they can't figure out why. So that's my person. I'm going to show them that path and I'm going to get them moving forward.
Can you take us to a day in the life of Cami and what you do as a coach?
A day in a life with me. So I work a lot. I work a lot currently. I just actually had a big shift in my career. I went from working full time to running my business full time. And so now that looks like me working on your business as my client, right? Helping you figure out those pieces, making sure you're staying accountable and doing coaching calls. But then also getting off and treating myself like a client, because that I really sucked at for a long time. I was like the nail lady, and I joke about this all the time. Like the nail lady, her nails are never done, but yours are absolutely gorgeous. Right? So mine is now to the point where I'm focusing on me as well as my clients, and it's a good spot. It feels good.
That's so beautiful. I love that you've shifted gears in terms of not just helping the client, but also helping yourself. And I think that's one thing that a lot of business owners and women in general tend not to take care of ourselves. We tend to take care of everything else, everybody else, and then we're put to the back burner and we get the leftovers, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So, what are some key lessons you've learned in your own entrepreneurship journey that can help women stay focused on their goals in business?
Okay, so I started this journey of entrepreneurship when I was 19 years old. I started my first business at 19. And at that moment, I thought I had to be, what's the word, better than I was. I had to dress different. I had to speak different. I had to posture myself different because people wouldn't take me seriously, who I was at that moment, right? And so I really had to stop chasing perfection and start just kind of showing up how I was and allowing that authenticity to come through. And I know that authenticity at this moment is kind of like a word everybody uses, but I had to own it. I had to own who I was at that moment. And at that moment, I was a young mom and I was an entrepreneur and I was in college and I was busting my hiney to get to where I needed to go. Right. So I think that that's the first one, is like just stop chasing that perfection and then focusing on fewer things. Like I always thought that I was a really good multitasker, and I sold myself at this for jobs. Like I've held fantastic leadership positions. I was like, I'm a good multitasker. I can do this and take care of the team and get sales and hit quotas and do all this stuff. You know what? I'm so much more like efficient when I'm focused on one thing and super hyper focused. So I think that that's a big one too, and especially being moms. Like we're so good at like having a baby on our hip and eating and like answering a phone and like yelling at your husband or whatever the situation is. Like we could do it all, but doesn't mean we're doing it all really well. And we're actually more stressed out and burnt out, I think, along the way. And then I think the next one is that community. I think community is key. I love being a connector and I love connecting other amazing women or men that I meet with other people that I think that they just need to know. They need to know those people. And I love to keep building that community around me. I learned early on that like your connections are like the best gold you ever have, right? Like me knowing Helen, look, this is out of a Facebook group. This is where we've landed years later. She's invited me to her showers. I've sent her blanket, like we've just became friends, and we've kept it together through the way. You never know what'll happen, right? And we've had lots of collaboration calls too in the past of just, let's throw ideas out. What can we do? So I think that that's the thing. I think those are the things, let's get rid of the perfection, like focus on less things and surround yourself with amazing freaking people.
Yes, on all of those. What you said about being a connector, connectors seem to attract other connectors into their life, which is amazing because I always say too, everything you want is on the other side of relationships because
Mhm.
they're going to they're going to connect you with the right people or connect you with the people that are going to connect you with the people with the right people. So
That's right.
that's definitely a good point. Now I'm sure working with other business owners, the goal of business usually is some type of success in financial status or some type of getting better at marketing. So I do want to ask that question because I'm sure you get it a lot from your
Mhm.
clients is what are the most effective approaches to marketing that converts, allowing you to reach and connect with your ideal audience without feeling salesy?
Mm. I think this comes back to those three things. First off, don't be perfect. Just show up how you are, but be consistent. Like really be consistent with showing up with who you are, right? I think that that's the first one. And then the next one is that you are really trying to figure out what your messaging is, who your dream client is, and who you would want to work with. There was something once that I had learned and I've put it into place in my life, which was, they say, who are the 100 best clients that you would want, or your 10 favorite clients? Well, I kind of switched that motto and I was like, if I could just sit at a table with 100 amazing women or men, who would those people at that table be? And that is how I shifted because I wanted to be, I'm going to say not worthy, but I wanted to be able to sit at that table. And so everything I did was to get to that place where I could connect with somebody else and I could show value and bring value versus getting as much as I possibly could. Like if I wanted to go sit with Oprah at a table, well, I want to make sure that I'm having some good talking points and I'm not just like, tell me what you got. I need to know everything. Tell me, but just like I wanted to bring value. I wanted to be able to leave her with more than I'm getting. So I think that that's like social media. I think there's this like you got to give to get kind of thing. And a lot of my clients right now are all like, I'm really big on like being visible and making sure you have an online presence for any business. Like you really have to show up for yourself, even if you're the own brand. But um, just kind of pulling those things together where you're visible, you're showing up, you're being yourself, and you're giving more than you're getting.
Oh my gosh, that is so powerful. I love that you're giving more value and you're adding to somebody instead of continuing to just take. Great concept. So I see the books in behind you, and I wanted to know what are some books that you recommend to your clients, to business owners, that can actually help shape, our point of view and our mind frame to get to where you're at, Cami, because you're at a position where, hey, I want to sit at that table, and it's very humbling. I want to sit at the table, but I don't want to just take. I want to give.
That's good. I'm going to go with 3 books that are coming to my mind. The first one being 21 Irrefutable Laws by John C. Maxwell. Complete game changer for me. Like knowing that there is a gap from $10 to $12 or $10 to $100 million, that completely changed my life. It set me up to become a leader. It set me up to just be better than who I was. I wanted more. I wanted to do more. I wanted to be more. And it allowed me to put my mindset in that frame. So absolutely anything John C. Maxwell, I think is fantastic, but 21 Irrefutable Laws completely changed my life. That I read when I was like 20 years old, changed my life. Still read it today. It's one of those, like, you can't stop to put it down. Every time you pick it up, there's a new law in there. You're like, man, I haven't done this yet. I'm not thinking this way yet. I need to shift something here. The next one is called Sparked, and I have no idea who it's written by, but it's kind of more of a personality book. And I have a degree in psychology. I have a master's in industrial and organizational psychology. So anything psych based, I'm always like geeked out over. And this book really allows you to look at what motively, like your motive when it comes to creativity and how you show up in the world as an entrepreneur or an employee or a person in a human period. But it's like, what really sparks your interest? And stop fighting that and lean more into it. So absolutely amazing. There's like a whole assessment in there. Go figure out like what your spark type is. It's so cool. The third book that really, I think, has really impacted me would be, I think, Profit First. I think Profit First, knowing that I need to put myself first as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. So many people that I sit down with, so many of my clients, they will hire me on and I'll start working with them, and they are 2 years in, 5 years in, 20 years. I've seen even 30 years into their business as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, and they're still not getting a paycheck. They still don't know how much profit to make. They don't know how to put their numbers together. They don't know how to do the calculations. And I think it's numbers don't lie, right? Like, I'm not a mathematician. I'm definitely more creative than I am mathematically, like smart. I'm not. But I know at the end of the day that I have to be taking care of myself before I can take care of somebody else. It goes to even like the flight attendant, right? They say, put the mask on you before your child. And every mom's like, yeah, right. It's not going to happen. But it really does make sense that if I can't breathe, I can't help my child breathe. So,
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I don't remember if I feel like we had this conversation about Profit First. We both love that book. I'm a huge fan of Profit First, and that book was given to me by my sister who read Profit First years ago, and she just kept telling me, you have to read it, you have to read it. I mean, we don't listen to the people closest to us. We
never.
should listen to them more because I'm telling you, once I got it in my hands, I was like, oh my gosh, I wish this book had landed in my lap when I first began my entrepreneur journey myself, almost 20 years ago, because you're absolutely right about that. You really do need to see the money. I mean, the money should be there. That's what separates you from being just somebody who gets an employee check and versus somebody who's a boss woman. We call it boss
True.
babe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, great point. Great books. I'm definitely going to check out the second two because you sold me on the first one. Great job without being salesy too.
Thank you. It was a huge impact book. That book completely changed me. Like, I was like, how can I show up and be this young teenage mom entrepreneur? Like, I started network marketing, so I grew my little first team to like 50 people so quickly. My dad was like, for sure you're selling drugs or doing something, because what is happening? Like, I was working in childcare, and now all of a sudden I'm making way more money in my little Avon business than I was in my full-time job. And so his gap the law of the lid was like, something's wrong here. So I constantly was leveling myself up. And like, you'll go to like these meetings and they're like, here's 100 books you should read. Let me tell you, I read those and more because I was like, I'm going to know everything that these people know because that's the only way that's going to change my life from where I'm coming from. That's it.
I was just going to commend you how amazing that you started at 19. That's phenomenal. I don't think I've ever heard any one of our guests start at 19 as an entrepreneur and read all these amazing personal development books. John C. Maxwell is awesome. I actually invested in his program and I do have
Yes.
that book. I love it. He's just phenomenal. So,
Yeah.
but I do need to get sparked. And I think Helen told me about Profit First. So I may actually have that on Audible. So great books
Yeah.
to read. So I wanted to know about your origin. I know there's a lot of different questions we have, but it just fascinates me that you started at such a young age. What was it about entrepreneurship? Like, how did you get to this point?
Good question. Ooh, it gave me chills. This story is always kind of the one that like, it's a little hard. It's raw. Um, my mom and dad were divorced. They were separated, didn't grow up with my dad really until I was a teenager. Um, my mom definitely struggled with drugs and partying and boyfriends and moving me back and forth. Like I went to 36 schools before I graduated high school. We were not military. It was very difficult to get a good education. I feel like I was always behind in a lot of things. And so at some point or another, I just kind of looked at what I was doing and I made this like rash decision to move from Laguna Beach, California, beautiful, to Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is where my dad lived. And I was like, it's got to be a better life over there from living with my mom, right? And I got there and it wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't what I expected. And I got to the point where I was like, I can do better on my own. I moved out at about 16 years old, like 15 and a half to 16, like right around that age. And I just went to work. I was working. I mean, I was in school still. I didn't drop out of high school. But I was working at like a Golden Pride Chicken, if you guys have ever been there. Like I'm selling like fried chicken and ribs, and I'm a vegetarian at that point I was. And so I was like, this is disgusting. So gross. I meet this guy who I fell in love with. He was just Prince Charming, all the things. We ended up moving in together when I was about 17 and I got pregnant. We were engaged, did the whole thing. And then I left him when my baby was 10 months old. I left. It was a very abusive relationship and I couldn't figure out how to buy milk and diapers, and I had no car. And I was just, I remember putting my baby in the laundry basket to walk to the laundry mat, which was like 2 city blocks, back then. And like this was my reality at 17, 18, 19 years old. And I was introduced to network marketing and I was like, okay, like I think I could do this. Like I'm pretty good at like what I was doing. I was like, I think I could do this. And so I started like plugging into like all of the leadership meetings and all the meetings and all the conferences and all the books. And I started like using all of my spare time between like I graduated high school with a baby on my hip. He was a year and a half when I graduated. I went back and graduated high school and probably gonna cry, but like I remember walking the aisle with the baby on my hip. He's 23 now. And I was just like, I'm not going to live the life my mom and my dad had kind of given me. I'm going to change something. And this was the only thing I could do differently, which was go to school, read books, not surround myself with those friends who just really were not your friends. Like I really learned at a young age that a lot of people pretend they're your friends for or maybe people come in and out of your life for seasons. And plugged into that. And I went from one company and I did pretty decently to another company to where I was able, after some time, to actually leave my little network marketing job or my not network marketing, my daycare job and go full-time network marketing. And I did that for a couple of years. I ended up meeting this amazing man, married him, divorced from him now. He's not that amazing now, but back then he was great. And we met in a network marketing company, and then through that time we started a personal training business. And then I started a coaching business for women, other network marketers. That completely changed my life because I started meeting, everyone's like, oh, you got to recruit this girl to the other company. You got to recruit. And it's like, no, I really just want to hang out with January because she's freaking powerful in what she's doing over here at the company she's at. So I want to create a space for me to learn from them and for me to pour into them. So I started teaching strategies to other women entrepreneurs in network marketing. And I started with like a book club. And then I got a book offer to write like a little chapter in a book. And I was 26 years old, like I was like just doing my thing, blogging and MySpacing and doing all the things. And here we are. One day I was at a conference and I saw this gentleman on stage, and he's talking about how he went into, I was at school, I was going to school to be an art therapist. And he's talking about how he went down to Colombia and he completely reopened the Coca-Cola factory down there. And all he had to do was figure out the right people for the right seats. And he had to change the mindset and change the culture and change all these things. And now their business was thriving. And I was like, that's what I freaking want to do. Because I loved figuring out which person I should put on which leg in my network marketing business. That was so fun to me. And I was like, this makes sense. And I totally shifted gears from art therapy, more clinical psychology, to industrial and organizational psychology. And that's how I'm here 20 years later. So it's crazy.
I got chicken skin right when you were telling your story. I love your origin story. It is a story of perseverance, a story of determination and openness is what I feel when you talk about your story. It's amazing. And I got even more chicken skin when you're talking about network marketing, because network marketing can have somewhat of a negative connotation to it.
Mm.
And for me, what I thought about network marketing is that it was the one place that helped with personal development. They
Mm-hmm.
inspired me to personally develop, but it also taught me entrepreneurship. It taught
Mm-hmm.
me how to use that particular product or whatever as a business, not a hobby, but actually a business.
Yeah.
And I love that you talked about Coca-Cola and how this man strategized to
Mm-hmm.
put certain things and to change the mindset. I think mindset is a huge
Yeah.
thing. Helen and I talk about
Mm-hmm.
mindset all the time. This is going to lead me to the next question. Unless Helen, did you have a question? Okay.
Yeah, first of all, I was going to say you're right about the word authenticity. So many people use it, but when you were telling your story, I felt like it was more vulnerability. And
Mm-hmm.
I got to say thank you for sharing because I actually did start tearing up because I didn't know your background story and I didn't actually know how much we're very similar in our background story.
Mm-hmm.
When you were telling me about it, especially the baby on the hip and graduating part, I was like, that was me. I saw
Yeah.
myself in that same situation because
Mm-hmm.
I don't often story tell about my own origin story, but yeah, I mean, I even have a knot in my throat because it does bring
I
back
know. Yeah.
those memories and but the drive that we got from that
Yeah.
is so empowering. And I also too, my journey into entrepreneurship was really seeing my mom get into multi-level marketing, which was Amway at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then actually, I should probably say it started way before then when we had to go door to door and sell candy, newspapers,
Heck
yellow
yeah.
books. I mean,
There you go.
we were the one in the
Yeah.
back of the
It's the good
van
stuff.
jumping down. That was our generation. So
Love it. Yeah.
we had to learn B2B marketing real fast.
Hmm.
But I could relate to your story so much. And I just got to tell you, thank you so much for sharing that because I think what it did for me was it ignited me to tell my story more, share my story,
Mm-hmm.
and to also remember where we came from because
Mm-hmm.
that fire is often needed to keep us propelling forward. Yeah, so thank you.
I heard something once. I think it's from one of my coaches had told your story because otherwise people will assume your story. They assume that, you're on a podcast or you're a podcast host or you're a writer and everything's golden. No, there is like grit and blood and tears and panic and anxiety that had made us who we became, you know? And so I think it's so important to tell our stories now because otherwise people will assume what our story is, and I'd rather be the person to narrate it versus somebody else, right? I mean, Morgan Freeman would do a great job, but still.
Oh my gosh. I love this conversation. Well, your origin story also tells us about who you are as a coach and where you've been what you've been through and all the things that make you Cami.
Yeah.
And I love it because it just shows me that you have this pure determination and nothing's going to stop you. So you're
Mhm.
definitely an amazing coach for that. So as a potential client, I'm like, oh my goodness, this coach actually has gone through several different things that possibly I had in my mind,
Mhm.
and all the struggles, emotional struggles that I had to go through and all those things, right? Because
Yeah.
you did mention that it kind of stirred up a little something. Obviously, I understand because there's
Mhm.
all these different elements that happen in your life. So thank you. Thank you for sharing
Yeah, you're
your
welcome. You're
story.
welcome.
What are some practical steps to overcome overwhelm, simplify business processes, and create clarity even during these holiday season?
Simple steps for me. I think that it's a couple different things. I need to first off like step away and look at what's really going on. Like what are the real obstacles? What's the roadblocks that are kind of getting in my way of really showing up the way I want to or making the income level that I want to. Right? Like just step away from that. I like to tell my clients like go sit underneath a tree with a piece of paper and just write that down. Write it down, voice note it down on your phone, whatever you need to do. Just like really give yourself that time away from the chaos of the everyday and just do that. And then figure out once you do that, then the next step is just to like really sit down and figure out like, what do I need to put in place so this doesn't continue to happen next year? Because if we don't fix it this year, it's going to show up next year, same time, same place, right? And then once that happens, let's figure out which our top priorities are. Like, let's look at that like good old priority matrix and be like, where's my low hanging fruit? What are the things that I can do right now to get this off my list? Like, is it making the phone call? Is it opening the piece of mail? I had a client who was scared to open her mail all the time or go file her taxes. And I was like, no, we need to go do this stuff right now. So that way you know how much money you can spend, right? Or what that email is saying or what this is or whatever that is. And so I think like just looking at those little low-hanging fruit pieces. And then after that, also just what are the ones that we need to like plan out like quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, like four, like just started putting that plan together because I love SMART goals, but SMART goals to me, they only work if you work them, right? And most people will put the plan together and then never actually fulfill the plan. So go get yourself an accountability partner, put yourself in a group, get yourself a coach. I'm available. Like whatever it is, like get a friend and a partner to make sure that you guys are getting stuff done. Otherwise, it's just going to keep repeating itself like bell bottoms. It's just going to keep coming back, it is.
Sorry, you are just hilarious. I love your personality. You're awesome. You so SMART goals. Can we just, because I know what SMART goals is, but just for our listeners who don't know what SMART goals are, can you break that down for us?
Yeah. Hopefully I don't miss them all. So there's smart, measurable, attainable, trackable, and then no, what results? I don't know. There's something like that. Oh my gosh, I already forgot. But I think I may have gotten them all, give or take. Did I miss anything, Helen?
January, did you find them? I see you looking them up.
Yeah, I'm like results and tracking, I think is the R&T.
So
I'm
it's
like, who needs SMART
specific,
goals?
specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. I don't know if that's the
There we
correct.
go.
It might be different, but yeah, SMART goals. So what you're saying is instead of SMART goals, you're looking at a different strategy. Can you remind us that strategy again? Instead of SMART goals,
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, I'm just looking at more like I like to break things down to like 90-day chunks. So that's really, really simplified, like how I like to do it. It's like what are two or three things that are going to move my business or myself in the next 90 days? Is it going to take this course and get the certificate? Is it going to be, I'm going to launch out this new program? Am I going to go to this event? Am I going to follow up with all the people I have in my CRM in the first quarter? So by the time second quarter comes around, now I've already followed up with them. Now it's about building relationships with them, right? Even more so. So it's like just looking at it a little bit differently. Like I love SMART goals. I think it's great, like to really itemize things, but what I find is that most people that I've worked with and most friends of mine, they write it down. They get their beautiful journals, especially at this time of the year. They get all their journals, they get their pens, they get their highlighters, they get all their things. And then they do it, and then they never actually like lean into it and like really work that plan. And they're like, oh yeah, I've got it somewhere down in digital file number 7. Let me pull it out and dust it off, right?
As somebody with extreme ADHD, I feel like I would lean more towards the way you do your or process your goals, just because I need to have more short, tangible, and like you said, just focus on this. Because if I don't have some type of like visual focus, I am all over the place. And I think that's why SMART goals really never, I mean, I tried to grab onto it, but it was just, like you said, it was just way too analytical. And I am already by nature very and overly analytical. So if I have more analytical on top of my analyticalness,
Yeah.
it's just like
You'll never get anything done ever.
boom. Exactly.
That's what it is. I've had to simplify my process. I love lists and I love spreadsheets and I love apps and I love all of those things. I think they're all great and they all have a place in the world for somebody. Sometimes they don't work for me. Sometimes for a season they'll work really well, but then I need to switch it up. Nothing can be consistent in my world. I have to switch things. It's like moving my furniture around. I'm a Sagittarius. And so I need the flow, right? So I actually have a whiteboard about this big, give or take. Like it's pretty decent, but it sits on my desk in this corner. I have all of my clients, and a lot of my clients, I'll lean in and help them with like research, or I'll help them with something that they need to kind of create or something. I'll take something off of their plate. As long as it doesn't take too much of my time, I can always fit it into my schedule to help my client, right? So I have all of my clients on there and all the tasks that I need to do there. And then I also have my goals at the very bottom. Like what are the things I'm working on? And there's only room for about 9 things. That's it. That's it. And so as I'm done, I just white it off and I just move it on, keep it going, because I get too distracted with everything else. My notebooks, my Excel sheets, my apps. I mean, all the I live off my Google Calendar. Like if I can't even pick up my phone and call you unless it's on my Google Calendar, because I'm so strategic there. But the rest of it, I have it on a whiteboard. It works for me.
I'm very much the same. I live by my Google Calendar. Even picking up my children is on there because
Oh
I
yeah,
make
mine too.
sure everything is blocked. And so,
Yeah.
I what I hear you saying is that you evolve because certain things like lists and things like that, I mean, I'm the same way. Sometimes lists will help, but I like that you have a visual, that whiteboard that shows like your clients and then what you're going to be doing for them, but then you have your goals as well listed on the bottom. The other thing I wanted to share was, because you mentioned it earlier, was psychology. I think part of the reason why entrepreneurs like myself we get in the way, right? Our whole mindset, our emotions, there's a lot of things that get in the way of us really truly building our business, which is why when you mentioned the highlighters and all that, and we're doing all this because it feels good. It feels good to say we did all the stuff, but at the end of the day, it's actually applying and implementing it. That's a next step, right?
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
a lot of it is psychology. Now, do you work with your clients in terms of their mindset, their mind frame, and do you apply what you've learned in these books about psychology? Because I know that's something that you geek out over.
I totally geek out on it. So I work in really 2 areas when it comes to my clients. So in their businesses. So I work on the human, the mindset, the behavior, the habits piece of this. And then I also work on the business, which is like the strategy, the organization, and then the operations. So I really kind of look at that whole strategy of like, okay, most of the time, I'm going to say all the time, a big business, a $30 million business cannot get to 40 million is because of the person at the top and where their mindset is. We are limited by the top of the company. So even if you are a one person show today, the reason you're not getting to where you are, the next level, is probably because of your mindset, your behaviors, or your habits. Those are the 3. So looking at those 2 things are really kind of where I focus and I specialize in. And I'm really known for marketing. Like really a lot of my clients come to me specifically for marketing, for that overall strategy and helping them get to that next level.
Whoa. Uh, great stuff. I'm already like in my mind, like planning and plotting, and I'm like, girl, it's Thanksgiving. Calm down. No, but that's
Whatever.
how entrepreneurs work,
We're
right? We don't have
entrepreneurs.
no
It's a
days off.
Thursday.
Yeah. Okay, I wanted to ask, what valuable steps do entrepreneurs need to take today in this moment or in this time to prepare for the future and thrive in 2025 and beyond? Because we're not that far away from 2025.
This is like my favorite time of the year because I get to talk goals all the time. And I get to say it so many times that people are like sick of it, but yet they're already thinking about their goals. Everyone's now thinking about resolutions. And one thing that I've realized is that there's a desire and there's a commitment. Everybody desires to be a multimillionaire, but nobody has not everybody has the commitment to get to become a millionaire, right? So there's everybody desires to be thinner or healthier, or but they don't have the commitment to keep showing up after January. Like, like we have this piece, and no matter what the topic is, we all flow back and forth between desire and commitment. And so, one, I think there's five things for me. It's audit your business right now. Where are you today? And be so real about it. Like, what are you really struggling with? And then go find those pieces. You don't need to become everything. Either outsource it or take a course or watch a YouTube video or go Google or go ChatGPT it today. I don't care. Go figure it out so that way you can get to where you're not. If you're confused, ask me. I'll literally give you whatever I know for free. Like, I will give you as much as I possibly can to get you to the next level, right? Set your goals. Pick some that are really achievable though. Don't come up with a list that's like 100 things that you're going to accomplish. It's not going to happen. Maybe it will. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here, but okay, I'm going to be very realistic here. Like, I used to create these beautiful vision boards and all these things, and I'd be like, okay, this is great. This is what I'm going to focus on. Every year I'd have a vision board party. I'd invite all my girlfriends over. We'd have some wine. It was fun. It was a good time, right? Yeah, like it's good. Like, we got the good music on. We're jamming. We're cutting and pasting and doing all the things. And and then I'm like, okay, that's great. How am I really going to get all of this done, including rollerblading and dancing and reading books and losing like a 45 pounds and building my business and making sure all my debts paid off? And like, come on, like, let's get real here and let's break it down into achievable steps. Like, let's just focus on three things or five things. I always love like the five visions, the five vivid visions. If you've ever heard of this, it's, oh gosh, here we go again. So you got family. It's like, you know what they are, and then you got to say them. You've got, what are the five areas? So you've got your family, your finances, your fitness, your, see, here we go. What's the other ones? What are the other twos? I can't even
Fun,
think of them.
food.
Fun.
I was
Yes.
thinking
There,
spiritual, maybe.
yeah, like, yeah, you're just getting your faith. There you go. Perfect. And so you're looking at these five things and you're like, okay, what can I do better to become more whole as a person? What can I do better for my health? What can I do better for my family or for myself within my family? For me, I'm heading to my sister's tomorrow to continue to build this relationship. It'll be the first Thanksgiving birthday that I've spent with her in 30 years. 30 years, you guys. Like, these are things, like, to me, it's important that like we're showing up and we're becoming better than we were yesterday. And so I look at those things versus I'm going to save every dollar I can. I'm going to lose all these weights. I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week or 7 days a week or 2 times a day or whatever it is. I'm going to eat no carbs. Like, no, let's just get really realistic here and break it down. And be like, for the next 90 days, this is what I'm going to focus on. This is what I'm going to focus on, and then move to the next 90 days and then the next. But make sure you have an accountability partner to make sure that they're like moving you through that. So invest in your growth, invest in yourself, because that's the only way it's going to be sustainable.
I love it because I'm an entrepreneur and I hear everything that you're saying. The whole 90-day period is very network marketing as well. That's aligned with what I learned in network marketing is that 90-day, time frame.
Mhm.
And I do love, so I love the five F's. I call them my five favorite F words. And so those were my five favorite F words when
Yeah.
you mentioned. But I didn't think to break it down, for the year and see that, hey, these are these are my goals for the year.
Mhm.
And, you know, like Les Brown always says, there's greatness in you. You have greatness in you, right? And so, but in order to have greatness in you, you have to take those steps to make it to
Yeah.
your greatness. And I love everything that you're saying, Cami. You're like, I have, you know, I'm on the edge of my seat, like trying to like lean in more and hear what else is she gonna say and how else is she gonna, you know, it, ignite the feeling inside of me. You sold me. You sold me. I'm gonna actually send you a calendar
I'm not
invite.
even selling anything.
I know you're not even selling anything. That's awesome. You're building relationship, which is one of your key frames of how to build your business is to really
Mhm.
build, you know, build relationships. And I do believe in collaboration. Helen and I also met through Facebook. I my eye caught her little picture. So her picture, picture on Facebook was
Mhm.
Wonder Woman. I'm like, oh my gosh, who is this woman? She looks amazing, and I want to get to know her. There's something about her. So there is
Mhm.
this energy, and this energy is what has built our relationship, and you know it's amazing. So, and I
Mhm.
love your energy, Cami. I love that you have this pure heart of really just wanting to help, and that's all that I see of you. I don't see like dollar
Mhm.
signs. I don't see like, oh, I want to make $1 billion, whatever. I see that you truly just want to help, and the fact that you said, oh, I'll give certain things, you know, for free. I'm like, oh, that's actually pretty amazing that
Yeah.
you'll be able to do that.
I
Got
think
my
that was the network marketing piece because I was taught early on to become a servant leader. And I really learned to pour into my team as much as I possibly could, or the girl or the woman or the man who was wanting and continued to show up. And if they were coachable and teachable, I was going to show up no matter what. Right. And so I think that's I think the difference between me and a lot of other leaders, other coaches, consultants, business owners is that yes, revenue is important because it's my lifestyle and that's how I keep my lights on. But at the end of the day, like the more money I make, the more people I can actually help. Like I have a bigger why of why I'm doing this. It's not just to buy milk and diapers anymore, thank God.
You survived that. You overcame that, and look at you now.
Yes. Yes.
A
No
lot of,
more cloth diapers and big pins. We're good now.
he's a grown boy now, right? He's
Yeah,
an adult.
exactly. That's right.
Uh, so I know for my own journey has um been very challenging with emotions and things that are happening with my family. So how do you coach somebody that has a lot of different elements that are going on in their lives? Because what ends up happening is, so for example, May through August, I had a huge health scare. Like I just was lying down, relaxing, healing. And so something like that, how does somebody continue on with their business when all of this other stuff is going on?
That's a great question. So I have a lot of clients who have a lot of things going on. I have a lot of things going on, and I think that it comes to the point where you have to take care of you and your priorities first, always. It doesn't matter if you are a multi-million dollar company and you cannot walk, you can't get there to turn the lights on. It doesn't matter. So you better make sure that you're taken care of so you can take care of the people inside of that building. I had a client once who was really not well. He needed to go to the hospital and he refused to go. He couldn't walk. He was bleeding. He was like, "Nope, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay." And I've got to get to work. I've got to get these projects out. I've got clients coming to pick them up. I need to collect the money. And I'm like, "You need to go to the hospital. I can call your clients for you and let them know that you'll be there in the next day or two and we'll get in touch with them when they can come pick this up." You know what I mean? Like you have to release a little bit here, I think, and let that go. So for me, last year, my life completely changed again. And my mom had a stroke of some sort, and it actually was a UTI infection that went to her brain. She got to the point where she could not communicate. She ends up into an emergency room, then a psych ward, and then I like get her finally out of that. And she's in California and I was in Arizona. I lived there at the time. I'm in Illinois now, but I get her into an emergency room or to the nursing home, excuse me. And then after that, like I'm now her her person. I'm the power of attorney. And I'm like, whoa, my life just completely changed. On top of that, let's just really shake this podcast up. Yeah. Why not? My ex-husband and I decided to get back together after 7 years. It's like this is all shifting and moving at the same time. And then we decide, hell, you know what? Let's go buy a house in Illinois and move from Arizona to Illinois. Have we ever been here before? No. Why not? Let's just go. So here we come, right? And why not? Let's bring mom with us and put her in a nursing home closer to us. So there is a fine dance between balance of showing up to take care of the people you love and you care for, to take care of, to continue to create the life you want, and to show up as an entrepreneur. And if it's not on your calendar to do those things, it's probably not going to happen very well. And even if it's on your calendar, there's still going to be stress and there's still going to be all of this other stuff. But you know what? I love my life today the way it is right now because I've created it this way.
I hear you say create. You've said that multiple times, create, and I know Helen and I are very much in that same mind frame of creating.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other thing that I heard was that just like in an airplane, right? I think it's the same thing. I think that's what you're trying to say is the whole mask situation is that
Yeah.
if you're going through certain things like that client of yours who really
Mm-hmm.
should have gone to the hospital, really needed to take care of themselves, and that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. Um,
Yeah.
but I feel like with that, because I did have to take care of myself at that point. I really
Mm-hmm.
couldn't do anything much but just like
Mm-hmm.
rest. But my business did take a slide.
Mm-hmm.
It did I put it on the back burner. And so that's where I'm at now. So Cami, you and I will be talking because it's December, and December is a great time to start planning for next year.
Yes, it's so fun. This is the best time of year. But you know what? Allow yourself, give yourself permission to do that. And I love my clients for that because they're like, Cami, I know you're working hard. Like, and I always tell people this on Instagram. I'm like, because I get a lot of clients on Instagram, and I'm like, my job is not Instagram. It's just actually another task in my list that I'm doing to make sure I show up for my business. You know what I mean? My business is actually helping my clients achieve their goals. That's my business. My business is not doing amazing reels, which that are not amazing, but they're just like talking bobblehead reels, right? But that's, you have to balance it. You have to give yourself permission to take a break, take the weekends off, like you don't need to do it all. And if something dips a little bit, sometimes you have to take 2 steps back to go 5 steps forward. So do that.
Ooh, I love everything you said. I do, like January said, I do see the string throughout this whole episode of the the word create. I also see a lot of perseverance. And most importantly, what I've seen or heard from this is your humbleness. And I think life humbled you at a very young age, as it did me, but it's intertwined with how we give back to the world and how we give back to the people we love, including our clients and ourself. And I think that when I often see it all over the place. You see it all over social media. People who just want to put posts out there because they're trying to give. They're fishing. They're fishing for the clients. They're fishing for what's in it for me. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, that's something that they're going to have to learn through life. Life is going to have to teach them a lesson to say that we had at a young age and sometimes we still have in our lives where we're like, it is by nature now that I am just an overflower of giving. And I think the universe sees that in us, Cami, in January. And the universe is like, okay, these girls, I love these girls. I'm going to give
Mhm.
to them and I'm just going to give and give and
Mhm.
give. So
Yeah.
thank you. I see that throughout this whole episode. I do want to ask one last question because it's probably going to be one of my favorites for this episode. To demonstrate inspiration, what has been your biggest achievement in your business because of your perseverance?
I would say, to be honest with you, I think that it's the fact that I never gave up when life really got hard, and it's gotten hard more times than it's been easy. I never gave up. I continue to even just baby step it, even if that just meant reading a book versus showing up online, right? Like I was just continuously pouring into myself and my brain that has been the biggest achievement. I think that, like, at the end of the day, I tell my kids all the time, I say, I'm not going to have millions of dollars to leave you. That's not my goal in this life. My goal in this life will be to give you my entire like book, like my resource library and give this to you. I went to college. I did the whole college thing. I got multiple degrees. They're all in different last names from divorces and things. But at the end of the day, like that's not my biggest accomplishment. Getting a master's degree and going to my doctorate program was not my biggest accomplishment. It's actually reading all these books and continuing to better myself to get me to where I want to go. So when I was working for, I've been in the dental industry now for about 3.5 years, and I was working as a COO for a company, and the financing went away for that startup. And I started with like as a coach for them, and then I kind of just hung around a little bit, and I loved it. I loved that as I was building my own business and stuff like that. And then financing wasn't there. And I was told like October 31st, I'm sorry, there's no more financing to give to you. And instead of me crying and having a panic attack and then a nervous breakdown and all the things, and oh my God, I'm 18 years old again with a baby on my hip feeling, because that's where my brain immediately goes back to, right? I've trained myself now. It's like, great. I'm going to have more time to take more clients to get to where I want to go because now I've been building the momentum for so long because I never gave up on myself that I'm ready to go full in this new path. I used to coach like HVAC, plumbing, electrical, window companies, and I switched gears about 2 years ago to back to women entrepreneurs, which is where I was beginning in my beginning before I had this like gap of working with man service-based businesses. So, it's like it's a shift. And now it's just a shift. And I'm going to tell you guys something. In 13 days, I tripled my income with what I was doing. I was like, okay, I'm just going to be a little short, maybe here or there. It's okay. We'll figure it out. No, no, no. I signed 4 clients in one day. I, I've got a couple other projects to work on. Like, and that's because I'm not giving up on myself. Like me putting together a resume and finding a job was not the answer. That was not the answer. And I think that a lot of people revert back to what we were programmed to do instead of leaning into what we've actually prepared ourselves to do.
Both Helen and I do not like bosses either. So we are not about that life. So this is why we do what we do. And the other word that I hear you saying is shift. There's a lot of shifting going on. And I think the shifting, yeah, right. I feel like I need to like actually shift.
Yeah.
The shifting is good because, as for you, like from what I've learned so far is that you've evolved from when you were, 16, 17, moving out of your, family's home into your dad's home or your mom's home into your dad's home and then moving out of that. I mean, there's a lot of shifting.
So
And
much.
I love that. I love that they're shifting, but your mind frame is great. I have more time for this, more time for that. So it's definitely a more positive outlook and just a different way of looking at when things may go awry, that
Mhm.
it's okay. It's okay. Because just like you, the other thing I heard you saying is that when you don't want to show up for those Zoom meetings or whatever, and it's just not that day that you still continue to read. And I'm the same way. There's moments where I just do not have the energy to get on Zoom and do the meetings. I have to cancel those meetings, say, you know what, I'm not feeling well, but I'm going to listen to like an audiobook or I'm going to read a book or, do something else that's for my business. So I do love that philosophy of, you know what, if you're not going to show up for the clients, that's okay. Show up for yourself. And
Mhm.
that's amazing. And
Yes.
congratulations on your triple income. That's awesome. That's awesome. So you are seeing like the fruits of your labor and just all of the things that you've done in terms of personal growth to lead you to where you are right now. With that said, I don't know, Helen, if you have another question, but I was going to ask you, Cami, what is one thing that you would like to leave to our audience, your main motto, your mantra, something that is going to like wow us and or make us think.
Um, I think I would like to leave you guys with that the overwhelm and the confusion's natural, but there's a way out of it. there is next steps. You don't have to do it all. Focus on finding the strategies, surrounding yourself with that support, the right people to help get you to where you're going, and then really focus on the clarity to build and like achieve your goals. They're very attainable. It may take you longer, and it's okay, because you have to become the person who achieves that goal. Like if I haven't, like, behind this, I have like tons of journals that I wrote for the last 20 years. I've been in this game now, and my birthday's on Saturday. And so like I've started this 21 years ago, like I'm just now, like I remember sitting telling my dad, but when he was still alive, like I'm going to have my consulting practice by the time I'm 40. It's taken me 21 years. Yes, I've been coaching for that, but like really now owning who I am and being the way to show up, like it takes a while to build yourself to get to where you want to go. And every experience, every book, every room you walk into helps build you up to be able to serve more people. It's not about how much you can make, it's about how much you can serve. So instead of asking, how much money do I want to make this year? No. Go ask how many people you could serve this year. How can I serve you? How can I help you? How can I support you? That's my take that to the bank.
Love that answer, Cami. And on that note, where can people find you? What do you have any events coming up, any workshops, anything you want to share about that? And yeah, your final words.
So good. So you can find me at EPS Coaching, all platforms. I'm all over the place. You can also just go to camischatz.com, and that's kind of like the hub of everything that I've got going on. As of right now, I'm helping people get to the end of, like, prepare for next year. And this will be every year, but it's just really looking at all of the pieces that you have going. Like, where are you leaving money on the table? How can we make you show up better to launch you kind of into next year, like prepare you for that year? So I've got something right now with workwithcami.com. Like, that's just like more of a strategy session to help with that. But as of workshops and things like that, I've got a lot of things coming. I've got a membership group, and I want to leave it at something that's more of every woman is welcome, no matter where they are on their journey, and like pull up a chair. So I'm just going to leave it there. Watch my space. Things are coming. It's going to be a really good year. It's going to be beautiful.
Helen, where can we find you?
Oh yeah, you can find me, Helen Edwards, Hell of a Journey with one L, HELOFJOURNEY. You can also get your copy of my famous book, Nothing Sexier Than Freedom, available on Amazon and Audible. Also in Wind City Books in Casper, Wyoming, and Cheyenne, Barnes and Nobles. You can also find us on Sexy, Successful, and Soul Fed, the famous, infamous women's group on Facebook. We have a lot of events coming up. We've got our second authors. If you want to write a book, how to learn how to do that, the steps to get there, all for free. That's our way of giving back. So join Sexy, Successful, and Soul Fed, and also check out our sister station, Your Morning Sauce podcast. January, where can they find you?
Thank you, Cami, for coming on this pod with us today. It was very insightful, knowledgeable. I enjoyed our conversation. You can find me januaryliddell.com. I'm also on Facebook, Anchored Financial LLC, and Instagram, Anchored Financial LLC. January Liddell is January, like the month, Liddell, LIDDELL.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram as Alina the Honeymaker, both on Instagram and Facebook. Alina the Honeymaker. That is my children's book about financial literacy, available on Amazon, Walmart.com. It's at Barnes and Nobles in Ala Moana. Also in Wind City Books. Shout out to Miranda. And in Indiana at the Open Door. So thank you all for coming here. Cami, again, thank you. And to all our listeners, mahalo.
Want to hear more?
Visit us at sexyfreedommedia.com.